Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw.
And I'm Sean Liang.
And I'm Mike White.
Mr. Mike White. We're not talking Steven Seagal yet, Mike.
No, I can't.
Are you disappointed?
I can't wait.
I'm just a cook. I have watched so many Steven Seagal films in the last week. You have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, it's oh boy. Mistakes have been made. Today, however, we're going to be talking about Ip Man from 2008. It is the story of Yip Man, the grandmaster of Wing Chun and the teacher of Bruce Lee, who we talked about in our Game of Death podcast. Sean is back. Sean,
back.
You took a little respite from podcasts.
That's right.
I had Mike filling in for you at one point. I also had our good friend Russ filling in for you as well. So, man, you're back and
Thanks, guys.
full of piss and vinegar and everything else.
Yeah, you better know.
So, before we talk about Ip Man, Mike, have you been watching anything this week?
We just recorded an episode on Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, so I watched that, and Celine and Julie Go Boating. So, and I'm also going to be watching one called Surreal Estate, which I'm excited for.
I've heard that Celine and Julie Go Boating is 3 hours long.
Yeah, you excited?
I am excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm devoting all of Friday and Saturday to watching everything and reading everything for Sunday.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm bringing my A game, Mike. I have to represent the Kulturecast on the Projection Booth podcast. Have you gone and seen any new movies? Do you go see new movies? I don't think I've ever asked you. Do you go see new movies?
See new movies, yeah. I'm trying to think. We saw X-Men Apocalypse over the weekend, or was it last? It was last weekend. Yep.
Give me your hot take on that. What was your what was the Projection Booth approved Mike White endorsed take on X-Men Apocalypse?
Well, luckily my expectations have been lowered so much that I was actually able to tolerate it. But I can't say that it's one that I'm going to be rushing back for anytime soon. Did I like it better than First Class? Maybe. Did I like it better than X3? Maybe. The timeline's so screwed up now that I don't even know if the first three movies exist anymore.
Best of my knowledge from people that are in the know and understand it, and I say understand lightly.
I don't even think Bryan Singer understands.
Yeah, well, that's for goddamn sure. But I don't think that the first three movies exist anymore.
It is the second best mutant film directed by a child toucher that I can possibly think of.
Oh, we tried to keep it to a minimum talking about Bryan Singer, child molester, on our Kulturecast over X-Men Apocalypse, but oh god, it's like the pedophile in the room.
Yeah, I did totally.
Oh, yeah.
Can't not talk about it.
Yeah. So not a shining endorsement from Mike White.
No, I'm not going to rush out and see it again anytime soon.
Yeah, it was just a confusing film and super boring and long and self-masturbatory.
I like the Quicksilver scene.
Yeah, I think everybody did. It was like that was the best part of Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
All right. I'm convinced that they should just make a Quicksilver movie.
I think they should just do a series of shorts.
Yeah,
Quicksilver
that
goes
too.
grocery shopping.
Right? Yeah, I would watch that. Evan Peters, he's pretty good. He's pretty good in X-Men. He's not great in American Horror Story, but that's no fault of his own. Are you going to be checking out Warcraft this weekend?
No.
Why not?
It looks terrible.
It does.
Unite.
It really does.
I saw Dungeons and Dragons at the movie theater. I don't need to see this.
Oh, but this is Duncan Jones. He's David Bowie's son. He made Moon.
I know. And didn't he make Source Code too?
Yeah.
I really liked both of those, but this just looks horrible.
Corporate. It's the corporate sellout.
Well, I'm hoping that this is one of those like Soderbergh making, something like Ocean's 12 so he can make something small and intimate and really good.
Right, yeah. Yeah, honestly, that kind of is what this strikes me as, so I wouldn't be too surprised, really. But we will be doing a podcast, not next week, but the week after about Warcraft. So keep your ear to the ground for the Kulturecast take on Warcraft. Sean, have you been watching anything?
Nothing. I watched Stitches this weekend, which is on Netflix, and it's the clown movie that you might scroll past on Netflix. But
it's not Clown though.
No, it's not Clown. It's the other.
Clown looks awesome.
I want to see Clown. I haven't seen that yet. That's the
awesomely bad.
The one that's like based off of that trailer. Is that
yeah. Right.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that yet. But this one is Stitches was pretty it was really gory. It's like a British slasher movie, and I actually really liked it. I wish that it's what I wish our studio horror movies would at least do. You know what I mean? It's not amazing, but it's good enough, Mm-hmm. And the kills were pretty thoughtful. I liked it. It was fun.
Well, I have a story to tell. So we're recording this podcast on Wednesday evening. Normally we record our podcasts on Sunday. I missed our recording date on Sunday because I was stuck at the Dallas Comic-Con in what ended up being 3.5 hour line to meet Jay and Silent Bob. That would be Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. They were an hour late getting to the venue. On top of that, the lines that we were in were...
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror. We'll cover all the subgenres, so join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Moving at such a pace that we would have had to have waited, probably 2.5 extra hours on top of the hour that we waited for them to show up and the hour we waited just waiting to get into the line. So I've come to the conclusion that, and this is such a terrible thing to say because I really do adore Clerks, the first one. Second one's all right. I have a special place in my heart for Mallrats. And Mike knows how I feel about Tusk, and I don't want to embarrass myself by saying I enjoyed Tusk on a podcast. But fuck Jay and Silent Bob. Seriously. Be on time for your appearances, guys. Come on. Don't make your fans wait. That's just bad. That's just bad news. So that's my little story of the day from the story from the Comic-Con. In regards to watching anything, like I mentioned, I've been watching a lot of Steven Seagal films. I've been kind of on this kick of Seagal. So I watched Fire Down Below, Above the Law, Out for Justice, and I actually didn't watch Above the Law, and Marked for Death.
Oh, Marked for Death.
All of his movies' titles run together.
Well, Marked for Death has one of the best titles because I always think of the trailer for that one when Screwface says, "He's dead and you don't even know it."
I'm trying to remember. Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill has William Sadler in it.
Yes.
Who holds a special place in my heart because he was the first person we ever did an actor interview for. And Steven Seagal has the best one-liner of any film that he is in that film. Because William Sadler's character, he's the bad guy, but he's a politician. And so he's got like that tagline that all the politicians have. And his tagline is, "And you can take that to the bank." And Steven Seagal dies, but not really. He's like a coma for 10 years, and he comes back out of his coma, and he kind of, through plot convenience, realizes that William Sadler is the bad guy by watching this commercial and like hearing it, and then he like heard it the night before he got like almost murdered. And his one-liner is so great. He goes, "I'm gonna take you to the bank, the blood bank." Oh my God. It's so cheesy. But like just listening to Steven Seagal, one of Michigan's own, deliver the line, you must be a proud Michiganite, Mike.
I didn't know he was from Michigan.
He's from Lansing.
Wow.
I honestly thought he was from like somewhere in Eastern Europe.
Yeah,
I can see that. He was born in Lansing. But yeah, Steven Seagal. He is like the other Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? Because like in the 90s and the 80s, it was Schwarzenegger was like the king of action, and then you had Stallone, and then you had Van Damme, and then you had Steven Seagal.
You need to do yourself a favor and look up Jeff Speakman.
Who's that?
Jeff Speakman was like the low-rent Seagal.
Oh, and Seagal is bad enough on his own.
Yeah. I remember making a joke that Jeff Speakman would star in a movie called Jeff Speakman as Jeff Speakman in They Call Me Jeff. I mean, he just always played the same character in every film, and it was just amazingly terrible.
Did all of his characters have really like cringy names too, like all of Seagal's do?
I want to say that a lot of his characters' names were named Jeff. It was like he couldn't remember his own characters' names.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just love all of Seagal's names. You know, they're so like macho-y, like Casey Ryback, Mason Storm, John Hatcher. It's like, oh my God, it's giving me a headache just listening to their names.
I was saying, I was looking up Jeff Speakman's filmography, and yeah, he's pretty amazing. Actually, I'm thinking of The Perfect Weapon, where he starred as Jeff Sanders. So that would be the one I would say is the go-to film.
Oh, he looks like low-rent Steven Seagal.
Oh, yeah.
Low-rent Steven.
And Steven Seagal is low-rent Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
So, actually, Steven Seagal is homegrown Jean-Claude Van Damme. Because Steven Seagal hasn't made a like film that has gone to theaters where he's the lead in like 10 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
And I refuse to watch his like non-theater films because I'm sure that they're all just like absolute just trash. So, but we're not here to talk Steven Seagal. We'll reserve that for next week. When we talk Under Siege, let's talk Ip Man. The film came out in 2008, directed by Wilson Yip, and it stars in the title role as Yip Man, the charismatic Donnie Yen. The IMDb synopsis for the film is, during the Japanese invasion of 1937, a wealthy martial artist is forced to leave his home and work to support his family. He reluctantly agrees to train others in Wing Chun for self-defense.
For a nation devastated by war, one man embodied freedom and the courage to prevail. Bound by honor and destined to be a champion, he would fight to protect his people and the traditions that gave him strength. His legacy will never be forgotten. His
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Discover the amazing story of the man who went on to mentor martial arts legend Bruce Lee.
Mike,
Man
I know you were
opens in
pretty
cinemas
excited to talk
October
about this
2nd.
film, so give me your hot take on it.
I totally confused this film with another film. One of my coworkers is a huge Ip Man film fanatic, and he's like, "Oh yeah, have you ever seen this movie?" And I'm like, I think I started watching it, and I'd never finished it. And I start describing the movie, and I'm like thinking there's this huge platform in the middle of town, and all these guys are fighting on this platform. And my coworker's looking at me kind of askance, but he's like, "Yeah, huh?" And then I would go and I watch the movie, and I'm like, that isn't in here at all. What the hell was I thinking? So I don't know what that movie was. I was
going to ask, did you figure out what that film was?
Not yet. No, I'm still like, I'm hoping maybe one of your listeners will tweet at me and tell me what a dumbass I am. And of course it's this film. Are you stupid?
I don't think, depending on how it happened on Twitter earlier this week, maybe one of our Twitter followers would get salty enough to tweet that at you. I don't know.
I can take the heat.
Yeah, right. You did an Alien 3 podcast, Mike. You can take the heat, sir. So since this film is not the film you thought it was, what did you think of Ip Man?
Well, I enjoyed it. It was definitely different than what I thought it would be. I thought there would be more kind of set pieces. Like once we get into the middle part where we have the whole Japanese invasion of China, things really slow down during that part. At least that's how I felt. And it doesn't feel necessarily, it doesn't have the fun of a lot of martial art films that I generally tend to expect. Had some great fights here and there, especially at the beginning of the film. They really kind of draw you in with one of the first fights. But after that, I don't know. I mean, I liked it, but it was kind of uneven for me.
What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I saw this movie in college when I was in an Asian film and lit class. So it was a lot more fun to watch it now than it was in that class. I agree. It's weird because like once you go, it sets you up for like a fun, like lighthearted comedy. And then we get to the Japanese invasion and it's a complete flip. I thought it was, I really enjoyed this movie though. I mean, it's very, what's the word? It's very
jingoist, nationalistic.
Yeah, nationalist, very by the end, but that's very much the culture. I think it was good though. I liked it. I like the end.
Well, it kind of reminds me of what was the Bruce Lee film where it's the Japanese guys come and take over the school. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit because I know there's always been like a real anti-Japanese flavor to a lot of these Chinese films, understandably after like the rape of Nanking and everything. But I think that one handled it a little bit more fun than this one. And I know this one was probably more true to life. This is based on a real guy. So they had to have some of the real stuff in there, I think. I'm sure that they, fictionalized a lot of it, especially the beginning of it and some of those fights and everything. But I don't know. Once they got into the real territory, I was like, whoa, this is way too real for a kung fu film. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I completely agree. Holy shit. I mean, this movie, after like the first, I think I timed it. It was like the first 20 minutes. 25 minutes where you have Donnie Yen as Yip Man and the a kind of rival kung fu master in the town of Foshan comes and like challenges him. And it's kind of, this goofy kind of, not goofy, but it's lighthearted. This lighthearted kind of sparring duel between these two masters. And then, then you get this scene where Yip Man comes home and they're like, oh, he's opening a school. Everybody in the town's like, man, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy we want. And he fights with those northern Chinese martial arts masters, that kind of goony looking eyes, bug-eyed dude, Kam Song Chu, and then like the movie just becomes this like, holy shit, dark and so depressing. And there's literally one scene where it shows a Japanese soldier like walking up to a Chinese person in the street and just like point blanking them. And I was like, okay, like, wow, the tone of this film changed in like a split second. And I think, like you said, Mike, it's such a stark contrast that I was really taken aback by it.
Right. I'm not trying to say that a martial arts film can't have weight to it and can't tell a weighty story. The story structure and just the genre can support that kind of stuff. But it just was such a tonal shift from, we're talking about here's this duel going on at the beginning and it's supposed to just be between these two kung fu masters. But then there's this guy who lost this kite in the courtyard and he ends up telling everybody, oh, yeah, Master Ip just, kicked this guy's ass. And then there's this whole thing about, Master Ip, did you tell everybody? And it just becomes like a typical, mistaken kind of thing. And like, something that I'm used to with like some of the older Jackie Chan films and stuff. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is going to cause problems and we're going to have this whole thing. We're going to have this rivalry. And then, yeah, those other guys come in from town from the north and okay, this is going to really cause some problems. And we've already got some tension with this other guy. And like he, kind of fails against these northern guys. And really Master Ip is the guy, but he, is trying not to fight and stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is chugging along pretty good. And then bam. And then Japan was attacked, or China was attacked by Japan. It was like, holy shit, what's going on? It's like all of a sudden we're here, like, the sands of Iwo Jima, flags of our father kind of thing, just like gets dropped into here. And it's like, wow, okay, where did this movie come from?
Yeah, I'm really curious because this is the first of 3 films, with Ip Man 3 coming out last year. I'm curious what the tone of the other 2 films are. Mm-hmm. Because, this film's the warring tones, it's such a stark contrast between the 2 of them. I don't know. I don't know if I would have enjoyed the film more if it had kept with the initial tone. Because like you said, that's kind of like early 90s Jackie Chan type kind of tone for the film. But I was just, it was so drab and gray and dark. And, there's the translator character, it gets like the fucking shit beat out of him all the time. And it's like, oh my God, like this is such a downer ass movie. And even kind of the ending of the film it's not a downer, but it kind of is.
Yeah, kind of.
In a way, where it's, they're being displaced from their home. But yeah, you're completely right. That was what I was thinking, in the latter half of the film. I was like, man, this is a really odd choice for a film that is a martial arts movie about this guy's life, and them having this strange tonal shift 20 minutes in. I think I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Sean, I kind of feel like I'm dominating the conversation, so please don't let me.
Oh no, I agree with everything y'all are saying. I feel like I'm not surprised by it, especially after. Have you ever seen Red Cliffs, where it's like it kind of reminds me of the more traditional Chinese kung fu movies from like way back, when it's like very, very political. They get pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there definitely feels like there is a political message in this film, or maybe, or it is pretty jingoistic. They say at the end, and Hirohito surrendered because of the Chinese. I don't know if that's entirely accurate.
Yeah, it wasn't the 2 nuclear bombs that we devastated Japan with.
Right, like, I was sitting there watching that end credits, I was like, really? Like, come on. That's not real, right? Like, you're not really saying that that Ip Man, they didn't say it directly, but they kind of said it, tangentially, that Ip Man uniting the countryside with his teaching of, Wing Chun, helped them overthrow Hirohito. I was like, come on. Like this whole movie is very, it's in a bubble. It's all taking place in this one little city, even though there is this giant kind of international conflict bearing down on it. It ultimately, it's a very small scale. You have, Ip Man fighting, Miura, the Japanese general. And if he beats him, so what?
Right.
Like, really, so what? He's not going to win the war by beating the Japanese general.
Yeah.
Right, but it's definitely so symbolic, of
it's all about honor.
Right, and the spirit and everything. And I do like the parts where, is it like his brother that doesn't know Kung Fu or Wing Chun, doesn't know martial arts at all? Factory. Is that his brother, or is that just like his business partner?
It's like I thought it was just like a close friend of his.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of took it to be like his best friend.
Okay, so his best friend is running this factory, and Ebner in the factory, and his buddy's like, I'm never going to be able to pay you back, and Man's just like, whatever, dude. He's very calm about everything. He's just like, we'll just worry about getting the factory going and having jobs for these people. And the factory, they mention it at the very beginning of the film, and then it really comes back during the second and third acts. And there's this whole thing where those guys from the north come back and they want all the money and the goods that this factory is doing. I'm guessing that they're not necessarily working for the Japanese, are they? They just are like brigands now. Is that what you guys are thinking?
Yeah, I honestly thought that they were just like roaming assholes in the countryside who just like went from town to town beating people up and extorting money from them.
Now that they can't be like masters, they're just going to rob everybody.
Yeah, they're kind of like, thieves on the countryside. I'm a little surprised that they would go back to Foshan where Ip Man was and like mess with him after he like beat the shit out of that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, and we're back here. Let's hope Ip Man's dead.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
But I enjoy that whole part where they come in and they're threatening the guy, and then, the son goes and gets Ip Man, and he comes in and teaches them all Wing Chun, and then when they come back, they all assume that stance, and they're just like, oh, whatever, Wing Chun is so lame, we're going to kick all your asses, and they kind of do kick all their asses. Really, they have to wait for Ip Man to come back in to really take care of business. But it was still pretty cool. I was like, okay, this is nice. It's and that's like really the metaphor for the film. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, he just kind of shows up conveniently.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, he's coming back, right?
He was like, is somebody doing Wing Chun in this town? I know somebody's doing it, and they're not doing it right.
Once they started pulling out hatchets, then he showed up. He knew.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, I started thinking of the Hatchet Gang from that Stephen Chow film. What was it? Fu Hustle.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, cool, a hatchet fight. This is going to be great. And I think there was a hatchet fight in one of the old Jackie Chan films too. I can't remember if it was A2 or what it was, but or Project A2. But I was just like, oh man, this is going to be great. And then it was over in 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay.
So speaking of that, what did you guys think of the big set pieces? There aren't very many in this film, like you mentioned, Mike, surprisingly. But what did you guys think of the big set pieces in this film?
I think that his fight with the guy from the north was absolutely fantastic, especially the whole thing where Ip Man's wife doesn't want him to fight, and then after he starts like insulting their kid and everything, she's just like, yeah, you go ahead, just don't break anything. And then every time they break something, the guy's like, I'll pay for that, and he just like keeps wanting to fight and everything. It's just the way that Ip Man kind of humiliates him, but away from the group and everything. I thought that was very cool.
And then the little kid, Ip Man's kid, drives through on the little tricycle.
Yes, the best.
Not the tricycle, the little bicycle, and like drives around. And it's like, Mom said you're gonna break everything.
Little brat.
Yeah. Watch what you're saying. Yeah. What about you, Sean? What do you think of some of the set pieces in the film?
I'm trying to think. There's only a few that I really super remember. And that's one of my favorite ones is the fights in his house in the beginning of the movie, because it's there's so much going on other than the fight. It's just so funny. And it's really fun. I really liked Also, the scene where he like takes down 15 Japanese guys on the mat.
Yes.
That was really fun. That's really cool. Like he just breaks all of their arms and legs.
And you really get the sense of anger that his character is supposed to have.
It's brutal because like before then you don't really see him. I don't think he you don't see him really do any intense damage like that. That is some brutal breaks in there.
Yeah, and he's like punching that one dude just like in the face.
So good. I love it.
Yeah. So Mike, you mentioned that you didn't think there were a whole lot of set pieces in the film.
It doesn't necessarily feel like it, I mean,
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think everything in the later half of the film is kind of, except for a little bit his fight at the end with Miura. It's the first half of the film, not even the first half, the first 20 minutes of this 2-hour film, they set such kind of the high bar and what you're expecting. And then it kind of dashes it immediately. That I was kind of disappointed with the latter half of the film because it never lives up to those first 2 fights, let alone the second fight that he has with the guy from the north.
Yeah, I mean, I think of good martial art films either as like westerns where you've got, you'll have the big gun fight at the end of the film, but you have a couple gun fights, skirmishes here and there throughout. So I generally think of that type of pacing, or I think of martial arts films as a good porn film where you're going to get a sex scene every like 10, 15 minutes. And they're really kind of, and maybe you even cross cut between 2 sex scenes or something. And that's what I expect when it comes to the pacing of where the fights are going to be in a martial arts film. So one or the other, I think we're leaning more towards the Western type when it comes here, as far as like a couple fights at the beginning and then the big fight at the end. But it just felt like there should have been another couple fights somewhere in there. And when it comes to some of those fights, like our expectations have been raised so much over the years when it comes to a lot of these fights, at least mine, I'm thinking of like the robbery of the ginseng root in Drunken Master 2. I know I keep going back to Jackie Chan, but he's kind of my touch point for a lot of this stuff. And you think about how crazy some of that stuff gets, or like the fight under the train in Drunken Master 2 and all this kind of stuff. And you just keep raising the stakes. And it's just like, how can this get any crazier? And they go one more step. And I just didn't necessarily get that with this.
Yeah, this feels... that second fight, where there's a little bit of like prop usage with the I guess it's like a feather.
Yes,
it's a feather. It's a feather that can't be cut by a sword. That felt very Jackie Chan to me. Because Jackie Chan is all about, kind of like prop fighting, right? I mean, that's kind of what I always associate with Jackie Chan is prop fighting and using like ladders or mops or, his jacket or, the environment. Those things are always things that I think of when I think of Jackie Chan. Yeah. And then having seen Bruce Lee in Game of Death, where it's a lot of just weaponry and pure martial arts mastery. Mm-hmm. The first half of this movie is Jackie Chan. The second half is just straight Bruce Lee, which makes sense because, in real life, Ip Man taught Bruce Lee. So it would make sense that their styles are extremely similar, but I feel like there wasn't enough going on in the second half of this movie to keep me interested because it didn't feel like it. And that's a disappointment because Donnie Yen is fantastic.
Donnie Yen is terrific. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Flashpoint or Drunken Tai Chi, but those are two of my favorite films.
No, Mike, but I have seen him in Shanghai Night.
Oh, very nice.
That was the only thing I'd seen him in before this.
I would recommend going and checking out both of those. Drunken Tai Chi might be his first film, and I think it was either Yuen Wo-ping directed it or he did the choreography. I think he directed it. And there are all these like really nice moments. There's this badass killer kung fu guy who comes in and is just like, he's an assassin basically, beating all these people to death. And then you find that he has he's deaf and he has a little kid that he really loves a lot. And he ends up like karate making a like a wooden horse for his little kid and stuff is just one of the best scenes, because you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then after a little bit, you're like, that's like a rocking horse. Where is this going? And then you realize that he's got this kid and he's making this thing for his kid. And then all the other children are making fun of the kid for this rickety ass horse that he's got. But the kid is just like, I love my daddy. It's amazing. And then you're like, oh my God, the fight at the end, he's going to kill this assassin who you hate, but you also love him because he's really nice to his kid. And Donnie Yen is like, I don't know, he's super young. He's maybe like 22 in it, and he's just really just full of piss and vinegar during the whole film. He's terrific. And then Flashpoint is this great like guns and kung fu type film, and it reminds me of, like, it's not as melodramatic as a John Woo film, but it's a really solid action film.
Huh. Yeah, I really like him in this movie, so I'm gonna take those suggestions to heart and check him out, because I, on top of not having seen enough martial arts movies, the ones that I have seen have just been primarily Jackie Chan. So seeing Donnie Yen in this, he's kind of the spiritual successor to Bruce Lee in a way, but without all the noise. I mean, I liked Bruce Lee in Game of Death, but the noise was like a little much for me. And I know that's like his signature style, but I don't know. That's just one of those things where I was like, okay, like.
Have you seen other Bruce Lee films?
So that's the thing, I haven't. I've seen Game of Death.
Yeah, no, that's the worst one.
Right? But it's got like that iconic scene, right? It's got the iconic fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
But who cares? It's a terrible, terrible film. No, you got to see like Return. I mean, everybody goes to Enter the Dragon. I find that to be lacking a lot. I mean, it's a solid action film, and you'll see a lot of things that are familiar and everything. And Jim Kelly is fantastic in it, and John Saxon. But really go to The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, and it's either Way of the Dragon or Return of the Dragon. It's the one with his fight with why am I forgetting the white guy's name? What's the white guy who can do anything?
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris. That's the one with his fight with Chuck Norris, and it's epic, and it is so great, especially even the dubbed version where you have these horrible voices for these guys, like especially the black guy voice. Oh my God, is terrible, just so embarrassing. But that movie works, man. It really works.
You mean the fight with Chuck Norris that's at the beginning of Game of Death?
Yeah. Outtakes, anyone?
Right? Like, oh my God, I didn't know what was going on with that. Yeah, I mean, Donnie Yen, he's a pretty charismatic guy. I think that shows, considering how he was, cast in a Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, he's in Rogue One playing what looks to be a space kung fu master. Yeah, like a space like samurai / kung fu master who is fighting stormtroopers with a bow staff.
Yeah.
Which, explaining that to someone makes no sense.
I mean, yeah, I have no problem with Donnie Yen. I thought the fight choreography, when they did have fights, I think Sammo did the fight choreography for Ip Man. I thought that was great. Those two opening fights are fantastic, and the ones that come later on are pretty darn good as well. But those are like classic Sammo type fights, especially like the little bit of dust that happens when they kick each other and stuff. Yeah. And some of those moves are fantastic, and it's just like, this is prime martial arts to me.
And the wire fu was kept to a minimum.
Yeah, thank God.
Wire fu, I mean, in the late 90s, early 2000s was just, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, was it the movie actually called Wing Chun, where they were just like, it was ridiculous.
I always just go back to, Charlie's Angels, the Charlie's Angels remake movie that was just like, oh, and wire fu everywhere. Like, oh my God. And then everybody started doing it because it was successul, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, wire fu as well.
Yeah.
Like,
well, almost like superhuman stuff in that one.
Right, like jumping on, like running on the water,
dancing on trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was glad to see this had kind of taken the martial arts film back to its roots, even if it didn't have enough set pieces for me in the film. And that's I think that's my biggest issue with this film is everything about the film is pretty great. The tonal shift I'm not a huge fan of, but I just wish there was more fighting. I know that's kind of a weird complaint for a kung fu martial arts film, but because you would think that there would be just an absolute preponderance of fighting. But this film I think maybe has six or seven scenes, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the one at the end with Miura, I don't think it was bad. I just think it was slightly anticlimactic.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
Yeah, it doesn't even really stick out in my memory. I mean, I only rewatched this thing on Saturday, and it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, those first two fights I really can remember very well, but after that, it's like, okay. And you talked about the darkness of the film. I mean, they literally, just for listeners so they know, they literally like use digital effects to make it really dark. It looks like they're walking through Mordor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally looks just like Grayscale City.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I at one point I was convinced that they had actually just taken all the color out and it was just straight grayscale.
Mm-hmm.
They're like in the first couple scenes where he's talking to his wife, I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is just like straight grayscale.
Yeah, and then it seemed like color started to come back into it. And I was like, okay, yeah, all right. As things get maybe a little bit better, they do, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, with blood. There's now blood everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, especially that poor translator guy.
Oh man.
Right. And that former master as well, who just gets iced in the head.
Yeah.
That was intense.
If you don't like the actor that played the translator, this is the movie for you, because he just gets the shit kicked out of him constantly.
With like a giant like bow staff that looks like it has like a doorknob on the end.
Yeah.
The guy's just like smacking him with it.
Oh.
And that's the other thing. This movie, it can never really decide on who the villain is. So I never really like cared who Ip Man was like kicking the shit out of, because at one point you think it's going to be maybe the rival kung fu master in Foshan.
Right.
And then you think maybe it's the northern guys and it's going to be this kind of north versus south storyline. And then no, it's Sato, who is kind of the lackey to Miura. And then it turns out it's Miura, but he loses quite quickly in this anticlimactic fight. So I felt like on top of the kind of the other problems that the film has, the lack of a one solid villain, as opposed to it's the Japanese,
Right.
and the Chinese to some extent, I felt like that also hurt the film.
Yeah. It's too big of a fight to like represent.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's this huge international conflict and they're trying to boil it down to Ip Man represents the Chinese people, Miura is the Japanese people. We know how this ends because this is a film made by a Chinese movie studio.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you guys feel about the ending with Ip Man getting shot and then it's just credit crawl with, the explanation of what happened afterward?
Yeah.
Anyone can chime in.
Okay. I thought Sean was going to say something.
Sorry, yeah, no,
It sounded like it, and then he just kind of aborted.
I know.
Abort! Eject!
Punch out! Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sean somewhere over the South Atlantic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It was kind of weird to me, and especially because I was just like, well, wow, how's this going to work into the sequel? Especially because they give you the whole end, and then Ip Man did this, and he did this, and he did that, and, Hirohito decided that Ip Man was too powerful for him. He heard that Ip Man was coming to Japan to kick his ass, so...
Ip Man's coming, run!
But, yeah, I was just like, oh, all right, this isn't a very triumphant ending, and then that huge ending, story and everything, and then I was just like, how does the sequel start with this? And unfortunately, I didn't have time to watch 2 or 3, and I'm very curious where Mike Tyson fits into this shit.
Right? That's what I was wondering, because Mike Tyson's in the third one, and what? Because that was like something that was like touted last year, because the film only came out last year.
Right.
It was like, Mike Tyson's in Ip Man 3, like, what?
Right.
As what? As himself? I mean, I didn't look into it because
speak Japanese or Chinese.
Hey man, I'm gonna kick the shit out of you, man. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, Ip Man. Like, what the fuck is going on now? Like,
I mean,
he plays the boss of a triad named Frank.
I've seen, movies where they bring in a big white guy as the villain and everything, but they generally don't give those guys a whole lot of lines.
I mean, they could do just like they did with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right.
And just be like, he's a big dude who's who like who he is as an athlete.
Yeah.
And he beats the shit out of people.
I mean, it was a great idea to have Kareem in Game of Death.
Right. Well, when you have a 7.5 foot tall athlete, and then you have a 5.5 foot tall martial arts star, that the difference right there is pretty. It's like it's so great that the fight almost writes itself.
Right. I mean, there's always that one guy, and I'm sure like somebody out there has like posters of this dude on his wall or whatever, but like there's the one tall white guy who almost always had like shaved sides of his head and almost like a mullet going on, who would fight Jackie Chan. He was great whenever he showed up and stuff. I mean, he had the worst hairstyle in the world, but it was just like, yeah, he was like 6'7" or something. It was just like, yeah, this guy, like, how is this going to happen? How is Jackie going to fight?
What you were saying about Jackie Chan kind of fighting all the big white guys, I am assuming that's what Tyson is in Ip Man 3. I don't know how it's believable, but maybe Ip Man 3 isn't played as seriously as this film is.
And I'm almost wondering when it comes to that other film that I'm trying to think of, because there have been like knockoff, because Ip Man, from what I understand, the Donnie Yen film, very popular.
Mike, skip it or watch it in best performance.
I gotta say skip it, right? And my coworker is going to be so mad at me because he's been talking about this movie for so long.
I mean, I think you can make a legitimate reason as to why you would skip it.
Yeah. I would definitely say
maybe Ip Man 2 is better.
I heard it is.
I'll give it a shot. I have to say those other Donnie Yen films I mentioned, I would recommend more, but I'll give Ip Man 2 a shot. And I like the guy. I like him a lot. He's super charismatic.
Yeah, he really is kind of the slight spiritual successor to Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about best performance?
I really liked the guy from the North. I appreciated him quite a bit. He was a great villain. So I think he's my favorite person.
I honestly thought he was going to team up with Ip Man at the end of the film.
I thought so too. I mean, I thought like, hey, we kicked your ass here at this factory, but we're going to extend a hand of friendship. You can just have what you want. You don't need to take it from us. And then there would be buddies. And then, yeah, they would go out, or like they're having that final battle. And then he comes out of the crowd and just kicks somebody's ass. But
yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. I don't know. Maybe we could have written better Ip Man. It didn't happen for real, Mike. So we can't write it that way. That's how the rules of period pieces work, didn't you know?
Haven't you seen a period movie before?
Yeah, a period a true story.
A true story movie.
Yeah, right. What about you, Sean?
I'd say watch it. I'm excited to see the rest of it. I did not know Mike Tyson was in the third one, and I also didn't know it came out last year. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I think that, especially after the ending of this movie, where it did seem sort of anticlimactic, I'm excited to see. It felt like a setup for something bigger. So hopefully, I hope the second one is better. I'm excited. But as far as favorite performance, I really liked the brother's backstory with the guy with the kite. You know what I mean? And I thought his brother, Jin, I thought he was really good. I thought it was fun. It was a really cool character. Gets the crap beat out of him, and I think he just dies sitting down, right? Like he just dies.
He gets punched backwards so hard that he dies.
And he just is like sitting. It's just a totally rough death, but such a cool character. I like that guy.
I'm going to say, oh God, wow, this is going to be interesting. We haven't had a watch split in a non-superhero movie, I think, at all this year. I actually think I'm going to have to go with Mike. I think you skip it. Maybe Ip Man 2 is better, but I think the tonal shift for this movie kind of pushes it in the skip direction a little bit more, because I just wasn't a huge fan of the second 2/3 or the 2/3 of this movie that wasn't the first. Yeah. And like Mike said, it's so, all the color is just kind of drained out of it, and it loses the fun. I mean, and obviously you can, like you guys said, you can have a serious kung fu movie, but I don't think they executed it very well. And best performance, I have to give it to the translator. I mean, that guy took a beating.
Yeah, he did.
That guy got shit knocked out of him the entire film. So I don't know. I felt like I definitely was like, all right, yeah.
It's a fun character, especially.
Your character is just like getting the piss knocked out of him the entire film, but sure, whatever.
But you make up for it by being kind of a douche, so it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he redeems himself, though, I think.
Yeah.
He kind of does at the end, yeah.
He's probably one of the most dynamic characters in the film.
Yeah.
Ip Man's just kind of straight good. Sato's straight bad. Miura is just kind of, I'm doing my job, but I like to fight people.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually liked Miura a lot, too.
I just don't feel like we got enough of who he was as a villain.
Yeah,
for me
but it was just like this curious sort of like creepy, I don't know, I kind of liked it.
What do you guys think the film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Ooh.
Critic score and then audience score.
I imagine audience score is probably around, I want to say 90. I think a lot of people really like this film. Critic score, 80.
I would think, I'm going to guess like sort of the opposite. I'm going to say the audience score around 80, critics around 70.
Critics is at an 84%, audience at a 93%.
Whoa.
I win.
Yeah, you do. That was very good. Both in the kind of the same ballpark.
Yeah, and I didn't go over.
Yeah.
That's right. The critics' consensus is, at once beholden to the established conventions of the genre and delightfully subversive of them, Ip Man is one of the most exciting and refreshingly character-driven martial arts films in years. I don't know if I agree with all of that. I don't know how the film I guess it subverted it by being dark and gritty.
Yeah.
Dark and gritty. Well, that's a new one.
Somewhere there's a parademon waiting to be in this film.
Right?
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more it is really a drama with kung fu in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than like a kung fu film with some character stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what they were going for, which I'm assuming they were, they succeeded. So, well, before I talk about next Monday's Kulturecast, Mike, what is going on over at the projection booth? What can people who check you guys out expect to hear in the coming weeks?
Well, we're still kind of going through a lot of fairy tale films. We're going to be having Valerie and Our Week of Wonders. Of course, you'll be back for our Celine and Julie Go Boating episode coming up pretty soon. And then I'm excited to talk about voodoo and blaxploitation with our Sugar Hill episode as well, which is coming up next month.
Yeah, I have seen no blaxploitation films. So,
really? I can introduce you to a lot of good ones.
Sweetback's badass song, Mike.
I wouldn't actually tell you to watch that one. So
that's surprising considering how I've heard that that's like the blaxploitation film.
No, that is pretty painful. I would actually not recommend that one at all. I would say go ahead and watch, if you want to stay in the kung fu realm, I would say Black Belt Jones. And if you want to do a little bit different, I would say go right to Coffee. Those two are some pretty fun blaxploitation films. Coffee gets pretty serious at times, but there's a lot of fun to it as well.
And you know your blaxploitation, because I'm assuming that's one of your favorite genres, right?
It is, yeah.
Sean, what about you? Anything you want to plug?
Nothing totally new. We just opened our play at the Hollywood Fringe Festival this weekend, so until probably a little while.
That's why you've been so busy.
Exactly. So nothing too new right now. As always, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm Shonifer, and on Facebook, I'm Sean Liang.
And you can follow me on Twitter at CultureStash, and you can follow CultureShock.com on Twitter at Culture_shocked. If you like what you're listening to now, head on over to cultureshock.com/culturecast to listen to 100+ episodes of the Kulturecast free of charge, ladies and gentlemen. We don't charge you for high-class, high-quality award, the NAACP award for best diversity on a podcast.
Wow.
We don't charge you for that, ladies and gentlemen. This coming Monday, we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat, the classic 90s film based off of the Senate rage-inducing video game of the early 90s. We're going to be joined by wrestling critic from the site, Mark Hall, and the band who does the intro-outro music for the Kulturecast, Wovoka. And we're going to be having a good time. I'm assuming it's gonna be a lot of jokes, a lot of jokes flying when those guys come around. And then next Thursday, Mike, you'll be back again to talk Under Siege.
I'm just a cook.
God damn it!
I can't wait.
I'm not even a good cook.
I'm also a cook. Oh God! Why do you whisper all of your lines, Seagal? Why you whisper them? At least you're not fighting a shotgun-toting Randy Travis in a gas station in Nashville or wherever the hell you were in Fire Down Below.
We're all just pawns in some mad chessman's game.
Oh Christ! Oh my God! I really can't wait. We're gonna have a good time talking Under Siege next week. As always, big thanks to Avoca for the intro outro music for the podcast. That song you're hearing is Lament off their self-titled first album, Wavoca. If you want to help us out and kick a couple dollars our way, head on over to patreon.com/culture_shocked. Kick a couple dollars our way. Every little bit helps. It is neither free nor cheap to keep the lights on at 0069 Culture Shock Tower. Mike, as always, big thanks to you for sitting down and talking Ip Man with us, even if it's not the film you thought it was.
Can't wait.
Even if it's something entirely different.
Yeah, if anybody knows what that movie was that I was watching, I'd love to see it again. It was pretty good.
Help me, for the love of God, in the age of the internet, I still can't find it. Oh, man. And yeah, make sure to check out next week's Kulturecast.